Hi, and welcome to the show. Subscribe at kevinmd.com/podcast. Today, we welcome Ahmed Elsonbaty. He's a cardiac anesthesiologist from Cairo, Egypt. Today's Kevin MD article is I Built Clinical Decision Support Tools at the Bedside. Ahmed, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Kevin. I'm so happy to meet you today.
All right, so just briefly share your story and then talk about why you decided to write this article on Kevin MD.
Look, it's a short story, but it's impressive to me. I didn't think before to enter in the software world and building AI tools, something like that. I always heard about that, but it's actually I don't think I will go inside this world. Well, a certain moment, 2 a.m. in all with bleeding patient, cardiac surgery, and the junior doctor with me bring to me a piece of paper written with results of bleeding test and asking me what can we do. At this point, I start thinking, what if I was not there? What if there is, that in anesthesia practice, seconds may different in affect the patient lives. So I have to decide in seconds. So I asked me, I have to make something help these junior doctors, help doctors with when there is no other one with him. This is a spark of the idea.
All right, so before having these tools to make these, like, how would you help these junior doctors before this technology was available?
Before that, the traditional way is he asking me, and I have sometimes to learn him, and some. But the problem that now the life is faster, cases will become complicated, occupied, busy. So no chances like before for reading books at night, learning at junior doctors in the morning. So all of these things push me. There should be a solution for this situation. How make these doctors can learn how when you are in a far town, small town, Manila, Lagos, any countries with few doctors of anesthesia cannot help each other. What solution for that? This is a spark for this tools.
Just tell us what kind of options are available to you to create some of these tools.
Look, at the beginning of the road, I think it's very difficult. And I have to learn coding, I have to learn Python, I have to have an engineer to make my ideas. But what I found actually, once you start, you want to solve your problem, you have to solve it. It's the way is not so hard. It's just put discipline, decide what's the problem you have, how to solve it. And I discovered that building with doctors better than with companies or other persons who didn't suffer as us the problems. So decide and start, and you will find the way.
So give us an example of how some of these tools are helping your residents. What does that look like?
Look, Dr. Kevin, I start with a small tool. Small tool, just reading them. I don't know if all body knows rotom is an apparatus made to decide the cause of bleeding of the patient.
Okay.
I started with this and then expand. I start with only one tool for rotom, analyze the results, and decide what you have to do with the patient. The problem was with me that when I search in another application, there is a marvelous application, many applications. But I wanted to make colleague with the doctors that never leave him at all. How can I get that? I thought that I have to adapt the plane of the management according to this patient with this comorbidities, with this investigation, very individualized plan for the patient. I started with only a small part and then expand to cover all anesthesia, how to manage any plan, ventilation, rotom, TEG, ECMO, TE. The other point is very important to me that I didn't depend on generative AI. If you ask the application the same question 100 times, the same answer will be because I depend on every piece of information in this application is traceable and depend on published paper.
Yeah.
and the sources of the application inside the application. You can revise it properly, no, not my data.
So you're telling me that, of course, someone asked this program 100 times, you have to give the same answer 100 times. The answers and the
Yes.
information, they have to be consistent. And you're right. Sometimes with generative AI, with the hallucinations, it can give different answers for
No,
the
no,
same
no, no, no.
questions,
The
right?
same answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me, what type of program did you use to code your bedside tools in order to give the consistent answers? What did you use?
I used only the AI to what you can say to draw the skeleton, but
Mm,
filling the skeleton is my job.
hmm
To bring sources, to published sources, documented sources, very popular sources that I depend on it to give the doctor the opinion. I insist that my tool is not decide replace the doctors. It just helps the doctor,
hmm
give him opinion, give him help to decision.
And
It will not replace the doctors.
the knowledge base that you give the AI tools, you curate the knowledge, you give it to sources, you give it the journals that it draws from.
Yes, I just help the doctor to take the decision. I will not replace him. And I will not. I never ever said my tools is holy books that you have to obey.
Hmm
No, I just help you to take a decision in a critical periods. Very short time you have to get decision. In anesthesia practice, especially other than other branches, seconds make difference in patient lives.
hmm
So you need some sort of accuracy and rapid decisions to take it.
So, how difficult was it for you to create this tool? How long did it
Oh,
take?
it's a
And
very difficult process. Actually, I take off from the application more than I put. Every time I put data, I tested, I found it's not suitable, maybe confusing, maybe not trusted. So I removed it and put again another sources of data and tested if is it applicable, suitable for the doctor, easily can be used during the operations. And one point important, this building is not solo by me. I put in both applications buttons for feedback and suggestion. I received the suggestion, I surprised, I received suggestion from all over the world. Why not put that? Why not put this? So I continuously build drums and put more and put more. So I consider it's not unique for me. It's by help of all over the world. Actually, the applications now used in more than 150 countries by more than 10,000 doctors.
mm. So, did you have any training before you created tools when it comes to programming, AI training? What kind of training did you have before creating this
No,
tool?
I depend on my own. Just reading the source, open sources, how to start, how to make promoted, something like that. So, Kevin, look, I heard before, old wise, once you want to do something, you can do
Hmm
what you want. So I decide, even my family suffering with me, I left them for long times to learn, to build, to remove, to rebuild. Many nights I spent it, and every now and then, while walking, I think, what if put this, remove that, improve this? This very hard job, but you can do it. It's not a miracle.
Now, for those who aren't familiar in the operating room and they're not familiar with Rotem, just give us a 20-second primer on exactly what that is and how your tool can improve patient care. Take us into the operating room.
As I told you before, there is many applications. I don't invent something new,
Yeah.
but all applications before consider that if you find that something this, you have to do this. But the new things in this application that I specified the management according to this patient. You have a patient, old patient, with chronic renal disease, previous with multiple surgery at now, diabetic on insulin treatment. So this patient has special circumstances, and you have to deal with this during your search. So, and then you come to the next point. the adjustment of the doses of the drugs. Nobody will build AI for doctors like doctors.
So, how long did it take you before you could trust the results of your clinical app and you can make clinical decisions based on the information of the app? How long did it take you to trust that information?
Look, the first application was CCA. It's concerned with coagulation, rotam tag. After I finished it, I don't trust it myself. I don't know if it's the good or no. So I submitted it to the biggest journal in our field, Journal of Cardiovascular and Thoracic Anesthesia.
Mhm.
It's the oldest journal in our field for more than 40 years. And I told myself I will test myself if it's a good thing or no. And I surprised. I'm solo, and I received email from Joel Kaplan. For several years, Joel Kaplan was considered as a hero for us. His name was on the side of the textbooks we study as a students. So I received this email. I considered this as a medal on my chest. He
Mhm.
accepted the paper and I considered it a good work. This pushed me for the big guy to collect all anesthesia in one application for to help more doctors all over the world.
And for those interested in creating their own clinical app using AI, what kind of advice do you have for other physicians?
I advise them identify the problem
Mhm.
meticulously, what the problem you wanted to solve. Search for other applications, what they said about this problem. Search for the sources you will depend on building your application, and started to build it with good promotion for using good AI for coding. Try and error. Make success will not be gained in one step. You will fail, you will fail, you will fail. Then ask small circles of colleagues what's their opinion. Then start to push it in front of the other doctors, with continuously receiving feedback from them and improve it step by step till you will succeed it. And it's a very, very crucial point. You have to depend on well-known sources. Don't leave the AI answer the questions of the doctor to be deterministic, traceable for your application, and I think it should be peer reviewed in one of the specific journals to gain the trust of the doctors.
We're talking to Ahmed Elsonbaty. He's a cardiac anesthesiologist from Egypt. Today's Kevin MD article is I Built Clinical Decision Support Tools at the Bedside. Ahmed, let's end with your take home messages that you want to leave with the Kevin MD audience.
First, thank you, Kevin, for this good chance to meet you. For doctors, just start, search what problems around you, build your tools. It's not a miracle, not secrets. Don't wait for engineering, Silicon Valley to help you. You can do it. Be meticulous. Consider that everything you write or put in your application may affect a patient life in other side of the world. So be meticulous, repeat, failed, repeat, till you succeed.
Ahmed, thank you so much for sharing your perspective and insight. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you.